Yeehaw, got snake eyes.
Get stuck with all the bad luck. No one but Donald Duck.
Today we're building Donald Duck, a duck who's got the sweetest disposition, who gets stuck with all the bad luck. Particularly his build when it comes to Kingdom Hearts. Casting spells and never healing Sora, Donald makes a name for himself as being the most powerful wizard in the Final Fantasy scale. You don't believe me? Just wait. Just wait. Our goals for this build, we need to have expert spellcasting, because Donald's a wizard after all. We need to have a great disposition, meaning we have to be very angry and intimidate people when we fight. Also, without a doubt, Donald is a feared combatant, even without his spells, so we need something to level out his magic with some form of melee. We get 4 boosts to level 1, pick Strength, Intelligence, Wisdom, and Constitution. While there are no duck races in Pathfinder 2e, there are Tengu, which are birds. You get 6 HP, 25 base movement speed, size medium, meaning Donald's going to be pretty tall, ability boost in dexterity, and one of your choice. I would pick intelligence. Background, Donald is a sailor, even if he is a wizard. I can't build Donald without him being a sailor. He even retired from the army as a buck sergeant back in 1984. Being a sailor is a part of being Donald. You're trained in athletics, and you're also trained the sailing lore skill. You get the underwater marauder. You're not flat-footed when you're in the water, and you don't take the usual penalties when you use bludgeoning or slashing weapons when in the water. You get 2 ability boosts. One has to be to strength or dexterity. I would pick strength. And the second one, pick intelligence. For class, Donald is a wizard. We built him to be a wizard. You get a boost to your intelligence, meaning you're capped off at 18 at this level. You get 6 plus your constitution for health. You're trained in perception, you're trained in fortitude, trained in reflex. You're an expert in will saves. You're trained in arcana, and you're also trained in 2 skills plus your intelligence modifier. With our intelligence being a +4, it's now a +6. So I would pick intimidation, occultism, medicine, nature, survival, and religion. This plus your sailing lore and your athletics should even out Donald and a general wizard's knowledge. You're trained in the club, crossbow, dagger, heavy crossbow, and staff weapons. You're also trained in unarmed attacks. You're untrained in all armor, and you're trained in unarmored defense. He's wearing a tunic and a hat. I think that's fine. For spells, you're trained in arcane spell attacks. You're also trained in the DCs for those spell attacks. You also get arcane spell casting. You also get arcane school. I personally pick evocation wizard for all those Kingdom Hearts spells he casts. And you get an arcane bond. Each day when you prepare your spells, you can designate a single item of your own to be your bonded weapon. This is typically a weapon or an item associated with your spell casting. You can pick a wand, a ring, or a staff, but you're free to designate a weapon or any other type of item. This is going to be important later on when you make your bonded weapon. You'll get an arcane thesis. I would say spell blending would be a pretty good one. To trade 2 spell slots of the same level for a bonus spell of up to 2 levels higher than the traded spell slots. So you can exchange as many spells you want as you have available. So let's say for instance you want to cast a level 4 spell. You can trade 2 second level spells to do so. I think that's a pretty good trade. For our wizard feat, let's get reach to increase a spell's range by 30 feet, and if it's a touch spell, it gains a 30 feet instead. For our ancestry feat at this level, let's pick Storm Slash to cast Electric Arc. For the second level skill feat, I'll pick Arcane Sense so you can cast Detect Magic. For a wizard feat, I feel like we need to boost Donald's melee capabilities, because he tends to fly out the handle and just start swinging with his big mace. I would personally pick like a Rage, but Rage would require us to drop spells, and we're not building him to lose his ability to cast spells, so we need something that works in tandem with our spells. So we need our strikes to be an accessory rather than a completely different path. So I'd say we pick the Mauler archetype. You get trained in all weapons that require 2 hands to use, so like a hammer or a club. If you want your Donald to have a staff or a warhammer, you can use it. But I recommend using a simple staff if you want to use a simple weapon to keep that normal boost, or using a maul as a more melee focus, as it has a higher hit die and it can be used to cast spells and still deal up to 1d12 damage. At the 3rd level, we get 2nd level spells. For our general feat, let's get toughness, because we have a wizard's hit die of a 6. We need to get higher health. You don't get through life as Donald Duck without getting a thick layer of feathers. For our skill increase, let's get Arcana up to Expert. For the 4th level, for our skill feat, get Intimidating Glare to demoralize people with a stare. Donald has a rage stare whenever he gets really angry, so I'm going to call that. For our wizard feat this level, let's get Power Attack from the Mauler to make a melee strike. This counts as 2 attack when you're calculating your multi-attack penalty. If the strike hits, you deal an extra die of weapon damage, and it gets higher and higher levels. So as of right now, this will be our main attack for our club and our hammers. At the 5th level, we get ability boosts, pick Strength, Wisdom, Constitution, and Intelligence. For our ancestry feat, get Eat Fortune for that classic Donald Duck luck. Lightning reflexes to increase your reflex saves to Expert. And a skill increase, let's get Intimidation up to Expert. For the 6th level, we get a skill feat, get Battle Medicine to attempt a medicine check, the same DC as the Treat Wounds, and provide the corresponding amount of healing. As for treat wounds, you can attempt checks at higher DCs if you have the minimum proficiency rank. The target is temporarily immune to your battle medicine for a day. This is great for those quick, mid-battle works. For a wizard feat, get spell penetration. It has a status bonus for saving throws against magic, reduces that by 1 against your spells. At 7th level, we get 4th level spells. We also get Expert Spellcaster for our ranks and arcane spell attack rolls and DCs to increase to Expert. For our general feat, let's get Adopted Ancestry and go Dwarf. Call it being necessary for Donald's ill temper. The reason I'm picking Dwarf is because I don't really personally care for the Tanko Ancestry cap at the 17th level. I'd rather grab more health instead. For a skill increase, let's get Arcane up to Master. At the 8th level, skill feat, let's get Quick Jump. So you can make a high jump or a long jump as a single action instead of 2. For those cool Kingdom Hearts jumps that take you 8 feet up in the air. For Wizarding feat, let's go back to Mauler and get Knocked Down. You make a melee strike. If it hits and deals damage, you can attempt an athletics check to trip that opponent you hit. If you're holding a two-handed weapon, which you should be, you ignore the trip's requirement to have a hand open. Both attacks count towards your multiple attack penalty, but the penalty doesn't increase until you've made both of them. At the 9th level, we get 5th level spells. For Ancestry feat, Soaring Flight, you grow a pair of magical wings, or you just flap your own. For 5 minutes, you gain the flight speed equal to your land speed of 20 feet, or if it's greater, that. So 25 feet. We also get Magical Fortitude to increase our Fortitude saves up to Expert. For skill increases, get Intimidation up to Master. At the 10th level, we get Ability Boost, Strength, Constitution, Wisdom, and Intelligence. For our skill feat, let's get Battle Cry. For when you roll initiative, you can let out a mighty battle cry and demoralize any observed foes as free action. For Wizard feat, get Overwhelming Energy. If your next action is to use a cast spell, the spell ignores the amount of target's resistance to acid, cold, electricity, fire, or sonic damage equal to your level. This applies to all damage the spell deals, including persistent damage and damage caused by ongoing effects of the spell, such as a wall created by a wall of fire. So creatures' immunities are pretty much unaffected as you get higher and higher. So creatures' immunities are unaffected, meaning you just can't make a demon feel fire damage. For our 11th level, we get 6th level spells. We also get Alertness to increase our perception up to Expert. Get a general feat. Let's get Ancestral Paragon to get another 1st level Ancestry feat. Let's get Squawk, because I think it's funny to have Donald squawk. When you critically fail a Deception, Diplomacy, or Intimidation check against a creature that doesn't have the Tengu trait, you get to failure check instead. Anyone who witnessed you squawk is immune for 24 hours, but they're just mildly annoyed instead of just laughing at you. For a skill increase, let's get Occultism up to Expert. We also get Wizard Weapon Expertise. You gain proficiency in all your weapons, such as the club, crossbow, dagger, heavy crossbow, and staff. And through Mauler, we also get an increase to our two-handed weapons as well. At the 12th level, let's get Student of Canon. So if you roll a critical failure on a religion check to decipher writing of a religious nature, or recall knowledge, you get a failure instead. When you're attempting to recall knowledge about a tenets to your own faith, if you roll a failure, you get a success instead. And if you get a success, it's a critical success. Donald just tends to know just heavy knowledge. It'd be really embarrassing for him just to receive a failure because he just forgot one simple thing. And for a wizard, you get Forceful Energy. If your next action is to cast a spell that deals acid, electricity, fire, or sonic damage, you can select one target that has damage to gain weakness 5 to that damage type until the end of your next turn. If that spell deals multiple energy damage, you can choose one that gains the weakness. This has no effect on creatures with the resistance or immunity to the energy type that you choose. At the 13th level, you get Ancestry feat, One Toe Hop, so you can make a vertical leap without triggering reactions that can be triggered by a move action, or upon entering or leaving a square, so you could hop into people's squares and not trigger an attack. You also get Defensive Robes. Your rank in unarmed defense goes up to Expert. Skill increase, you get Occultism up to Master. You also get Weapon Specialization to deal an additional 2 damage with your weapons and unarmed strikes that you have Expert in, which we have Expert in. At the 14th level, get a Skill feat, get Bizarre Magic, increase the DCs to recognize spells you cast and identify magic by 5, so it's hard for people to recognize what you're doing. For a Wizard feat, go back to Mauler and get Brutal Finish. Spend an action to finish out a combo with a heavy attack. Combine this with a power attack, and Donald is rolling a great amount of damage. I'll talk more about that in the end. At the 15th level, you get 8th level spells. Again, we get Ability Boost, Strength, Constitution, Wisdom, and Intelligence. For General feat, Die Hard. You die the dying condition of 5 rather than 4. Donald is extremely hard to put down. He just doesn't quit. We also get Master Spellcaster. Our ranks in spell attack rolls and spell DCs increase to Master. Skill increases get Arcane up to Legendary. Your knowledge of the Arcane is unparalleled. At the 16th level, you get Unified Theory for whenever you use an action or a skill that requires nature, occultism, or religion. Depending on the magical tradition, you can use Arcana instead. If you would normally take a penalty or have a higher DC for using Arcana on other magic, like you're identifying magic, you no longer do so. This is more to cover nature and religion, since we're mostly putting all our cards in occultism and Arcana. For wizard feat, let's get Effortless Concentration. You immediately gain the phase of sustain a spell action, allowing you to extend the duration of one of your active wizard spells, which is pretty good. At the 17th level, we get 9th level spells. We also get an Ancestry feat. Go to Dwarf and get Dwarf Stoutness to gain extra health per our level, capping out at 20. This, on top of our Toughness, will keep Donald healthy. We also get Resolve. Our rank in will saves increase to Master, and when we roll a success on a will save, critical success instead. We also get a skill increase, we get Intimidation up to Legendary. For the 18th level, we get Terrified Retreat. When you critically succeed to demoralize action, if the target's level is lower than yours, they run away for 1 round. For a wizard feat, get Re-Prepare Spell. You can spend 10 minutes to prepare a spell that you already cast. We're getting access to that spell slot. The spell must be 4th level or lower, and one that does not have a duration. So you can constantly keep bringing up fireballs if you want to. At the 9th level, we get Arc Wizard Spellcraft. You gain a single 10th level spell. You can prepare that spell in the slot using your arcane spellcasting. And with this, I say you cast Cataclysm. That sounds like a great stand-in for Zeta Flare. In a 60-foot area, treat all enemy resistances as 10 point lower and deal 21 d10 worth of damage that can only be bypassed by a reflex save. That's a different... Now, this is 21 d10 of different types of damage, such as acid, ice, and lightning, but considering the resistance is down by 10, you're still doing a whole lot of damage with this attack. For a general feat, get Incredible Initiative. You get a +2 circumstance bonus to initiative rolls. As a quick, let me get in the fight faster. For our last skill increase, get Occultism up to Legendary to get all our magical base skills as high as they can be. For the 20th level, our last ability boost, Strength, Dexterity, Intelligence, and Charisma. I pick Charisma because I hate odd numbers. Get Magical Shorthand, so you can take 10 minutes to learn a spell per level rather than an hour. I personally don't use this, but if your Dungeon Master does, that's perfectly fine. And for our last wizard feat, get Spell Mastery. Select any 4 spells of 9th level or lower to have access to them. Each spell must be a different level, so for me, I would pick your favorites. I'm sure you have a few by now at this level. With all that being said, do you want to suffer as Donald Duck? Well, as a full-on wizard, he can call upon the entire domain of his spells and just deal asinine numbers of damage with them, filling out utilities with different spells, sitting at 246 health and a few combat options for your staff or your hammer if you run out of spells or you need to conserve spells. So ideally in a perfect combo, a power attack and brutal finish, meaning with a 2-handed maul, which I assume you would use because it's the highest hit die, you get 4d12 plus 3d12 plus 10 plus 4 for a low of 21 and a high of 98 on a single combo, with an average of about 49 damage, meaning Donald Duck is not completely helpless in melee if he has to come down to physical blows. On top of that, Donald can straight up fly for 5 minutes, which is great because range is important when it comes down to enemies. A group of axe-wielding orcs no longer pose a threat, as you can just cast flight and rain down lightning bolts like a god. At the end of the day, Donald is made for a straightforward purpose, and that is to cast devastating spells, be a jerk to absolutely everyone, and not heal the team in case he needs to heal himself. So, dive in your sailor suit, put up your fists, and remember who's never wrong, but who's always right. Remember that you're Donald Duck. It's not enough that you win, someone else has to lose. Just make sure it isn't you.
No one but Donald Duck.